Okay, so let's go ahead. This topic is quite easy and it's quite interesting. So we will study three kinds of multipliers: government spending multiplier, tax multiplier, balanced budget multiplier. In the last meeting, I show you if there is a change in government spending or taxes, it will affect equilibrium level of output. And then we will calculate three kinds of multiplier. Let's start with government spending multiplier. Let me go to Lana. Lana, could you read this for me?
Yes, Doctor. The government spending multiplier. Government spending multiplier, the ratio of the change in the equilibrium level of output to a change in government spending.
Okay, so what is government spending multiplier? Is the increase in equilibrium level of output due to increase in government spending. And it's equal 1 divided by MPS. It is the same as the multiplier due to change in one of the exogenous variable we studied in chapter 7. In chapter 7, we derive the multiplier in general. So if there is an increase in one exogenous variable increasing expenditure spending, there will be multiple increase in equilibrium level of aggregate output. So this is the government spending multiplier, 1 divided by MPS. So if I ask you to find a change in equilibrium level of aggregate output, it equals a change in government spending times the government spending multiplier, 1 divided by MPS. Okay, so here we used to say the equilibrium level of output 900. If the government spending increased from 100 to 150, the equilibrium level of output will increase by 200 from 900 to 1100, because at 900, after the increase in government spending by 50, planned aggregate expenditure will be more than aggregate output, or demand will be more than supply. That will lead to unplanned decrease in inventory. Business sector will react by increasing output till we reach equilibrium. So let's calculate the multiplier, which is the increase in equilibrium level of output 200 divided by increase in government spending 50. So 200 divided by 50 equals 4. And see here, this is a .75 is marginal propensity to consume. So what is marginal propensity to save is .25. 1 divided by .25 equals also 4. We will take more examples soon. So this is the dark red is the original planned aggregate expenditure, intersects with 45-degree line. It determines dot. I cannot see dot. It determines this dot, let's say dot A, as the initial equilibrium point. If government spending increase by 50, just drag planned aggregate expenditure upward, keep the vertical distance equals to 50. So at 900, the new level of planned aggregate expenditure is more than aggregate output. There will be any planned decrease in inventory. Business sector will react by increasing output. There will be multiple increase in output due to increase in consumption. So the new equilibrium level of output will be at 1100. So if you like to calculate the government spending multiplier, 200 divided by 50, it will be 4. So let's talk now about tax multiplier. And Lana will help me.
Tax multiplier, the ratio of change in the equilibrium level of output to a change in taxes.
Okay, it's similar. So it is similar. What is tax multiplier? Delta Y divided by delta T. So the change in taxes will lead to a change in equilibrium level of output. So see here the first line here. The change in equilibrium level of output equals the initial increase in government expenditure, such as increase in investment or increase in government spending, times the multiplier. This is government spending multiplier. Assume now the government increased taxes. Assume the government increased taxes. That will lead to a decrease in our disposable income. If the government increased taxes, our disposable income will decrease. But by how much? Assume the government imposes new taxes as lump sum taxes worth of 100. So our consumption will decrease by 100 times marginal propensity to consume. Assume marginal propensity to consume is 0.8. So consumption will decrease by 80. Why? Because saving also will decrease by 20. It's different than an increase in government expenditure. So again, if the government increased taxes, disposable income will decrease, consumption will decrease by less than the increase in taxes. Because if our disposable income decreased by 100, consumption will decrease by 80, 100 times marginal propensity to consume, because saving will also decrease. So I will rearrange this equation. This is the multiplier. So I will shift MPC here, and this is the sign. So this is tax multiplier equals minus MPC divided by MPS. So government spending multiplier is positive, equals to 1 divided by MPS, while tax multiplier is negative and equals to minus MPC divided by MPS. We will take more example in a moment. So in general, if a government spending multiplier is 4, tax multiplier will be minus and less than 4 if there is an equal change in government spending and taxes. Why? Because an increase in taxes will not decrease aggregate expenditure by 100. Aggregate expenditure will decrease by less than 100. So the change in taxes times the marginal propensity to consume. So consumption will decrease by less than 100 if taxes increase by 100. So let's go to Lana again.
Balanced budget multiplier, the ratio of change in the equilibrium level of output to a change in government spending, where the change in government spending is balanced by a change in taxes, so as not to create any deficit. The balanced budget multiplier is equal to 1, the change in Y resulting from the change in G, and the equal change in T are exactly the same size as the initial change in G or T.
Okay, so let me skip from this for a moment and open a Word file. I think you can see Word file. Okay. So what is delta Y equals delta G times the multiplier. The multiplier, do you remember the multiplier? 1 divided by MPS. Assume the government also increased taxes by the same amount. What is the tax multiplier? The tax multiplier equals to here minus MPC divided by MPS. So what I will do, copy, paste, assume the government increase their expenditure by 100 and also increase taxes by 100. So the status of the public budget will be the same. The status of the public budget will be the same. If we have a deficit, we will have the same deficit. If we have balanced public budget, we will have balanced budget. It would not change the status of public budget. Why? Because there is equal increase in both sides. Okay. So now we can calculate, copy, its technology. So 100 put between two brackets. So this one and then I will put minus and put this, copy, paste. This is the minus. I will delete the minus because I put it out and close the brackets. So what is so now could you find me the result? Two fraction, can you find the, so here MPS and here it will be 1 minus MPC. Okay, and close the brackets. Can you tell me the result? 100 times
1.
So here 1 minus MPC
MPS already.
MPS, and here MPS, so equals 100 times 1. So this is balanced budget multiplier equals to 1, equals to 1. For this reason, we say balanced budget multiplier equals 1. So if there is an increase in government expenditure by 100, and there is an increase in taxes by 100 simultaneously, calculate the change in equilibrium level of output equals the change in one of them, such as the change in government spending, times 1. So assume government expenditure is, so let me go here. So if the marginal propensity to save, so to save is marginal propensity to save is .25. So 1 divided by .25, can you tell me? It is 4. And now marginal propensity to consume is .75 divided by .25. So see here, government spending multiplier will be +4. Tax multiplier will be -3. So 4 minus 3 will be plus 1, which is balanced budget multiplier. So here, if the net taxes increased by 200 from 100 to 300, and government purchases increased from 100 to 300, so there is an increase in taxes and government expenditure by the same amount, so the equilibrium level of output will increase also by 200 from 900 to 1100. Why? Because there is an increase in government expenditure by 200 and the balanced budget multiplier is equal to 1. So 200 times 1, this is the increase in equilibrium level of aggregate output. So here we have 3 kinds of multiplier: government spending multiplier, tax multiplier, balanced budget multiplier. How to calculate the change in equilibrium level of Y? If there is an increase in taxes, so delta Y equals delta G times government spending multiplier. If there is an increase in taxes, delta Y equals the increase in taxes times the tax multiplier. Don't forget the sign minus. If there is an increase in government spending and taxes in the same magnitude simultaneously, delta Y equals delta G times 1. This is the most difficult question. This is the most difficult question in the coming exams, class test 2 and final exam. Can I ask Farhana to read this question for me?
Yes, doctor. Find a change in equilibrium level of aggregate output if government spending is increased by $100 and net taxes are decreased by $100 simultaneously, given that the consumption function is C equal $500 plus 0.85 YD.
Okay. So let me ask you here, calculate delta Y. Calculate a change in equilibrium level of aggregate output, which is delta Y. So can I use balance budget multiplier? I need a clever student to tell me whether I can use balance budget multiplier of 1 or I cannot. Can I use balance budget multiplier which is equal to 1? The answer is no. Why? Because there is an increase in government expenditure by 100 and there is a decrease in taxes by 100. But we can use balance budget multiplier of 1 if there is an increase in government expenditure and taxes in the same magnitude simultaneously. And that doesn't occur here. Okay, so now what happened? There is a change in government expenditure and there is a change in taxes simultaneously. So we have to use this equation. The change in equilibrium level of aggregate output equals the change in government spending times government spending multiplier 1 divided by MPS, plus a change in taxes times tax multiplier. Tax multiplier is minus MPC divided by MPS. So here, see here, what is delta G? An increase in government expenditure by 100. What is delta T? There is a decrease in taxes by 100. So I say minus 100. Okay, what is MPC? What is marginal propensity to consume? Marginal propensity to consume is the parameter or the slope of consumption function. So the slope is 0.85. So marginal propensity to consume is 0.85. What is marginal propensity to save? Marginal propensity to save is the equivalency to 1. So marginal propensity to save equals 1 minus MPC. 1 minus 0.85 equals 0.15. 1 minus 0.85 equals 0.15. This is marginal propensity to save. So now all the information we got, so we got the increase in government spending led to an increase in output by more than 600. A decrease in taxes led to an increase in output by more than 500. The net impact of a change in both has a multiple increase in output by more than 1,000. So during coronavirus, the government of United Arab Emirates increased government expenditure and decreased taxes, which is represented by public services fees. They decreased around 100 kind of public services fees. It is technology. So I prefer to go to calculation first before I come back to essay questions. Let me go to calculation. It is technology. So fiscal policy is the last one. And the file will be closed. This is fiscal policy. And I will ask Farhane to read this question for me. Farhane.
Suppose consumption function is specified as C equal to $100 plus 0.70 YD. Planned investment is $200. Net taxes are $200 and government spending totals $500 of a hypothetical economy in 2020. Find algebraically.
A.
The equilibrium level of aggregate output by equating aggregate output and planned aggregate expenditure.
Okay, so number A said calculate equilibrium level of aggregate output, which is Y. And Y equals the component of aggregate expenditure, C plus I plus G plus net export. Since I have no information about net export, it seems to be we assume that the economy is closed, so net export equals 0. For this reason, there is no net export. So if you stay with me for another semester, I will add international sector to the model. The model will be huge, more complicated. And in chapter 7, I added international sector, but I deleted government. Here, I do the opposite. So see here, now calculate Y. How to calculate Y? So this is consumption function, 200 plus dot 7 YD. Investment is 200. Government expenditure is 500. Okay, we solve it. Now YD equals Y minus T. YD, disposable income, equals aggregate income minus taxes. If you remember the introduction to this chapter, the first slides of this chapter. Disposable income equals income minus taxes. So taxes is 200. So in this equation, there is only one symbol missing, which is y. For this reason, we can calculate it. So please here, dot 7y, dot 7 times y, dot 7y, shifted to another side, it will be minus dot 7y. So what left? 200. Dot 7 times minus 200, it will be minus 140. This is 200, this is 500. Okay. 1y minus dot 7 will be dot 3. So 1 minus dot 7 will be dot 3y. The sum of these numbers equals 760. So y equals 760 divided by dot 3. So y equals 760 divided by dot 3. So this is the equilibrium level of aggregate output. Farhane.
B. Consumption when aggregate output is at the equilibrium level.
Okay, this is the consumption function from the equation. This is the consumption function from the equation. YD equals Y, we calculated before, minus taxes, which is 200 from the quotient. So we can calculate. So this is the value of consumption. In C, what is saving? Farhana, C?
Saving when aggregate output is at the equilibrium level.
Okay, so what is saving? Keep in your mind, disposable income equals consumption plus saving. So if we receive after taxes some amount, we will spend part of it and we will save the rest. So what is saving equals YD minus consumption. So YD equals Y minus T. YD equals Y minus T. And here minus consumption we calculated before. So this is the saving. Farhane.
D. Establish that leakage equal injections at the equilibrium level of aggregate output.
Okay, so at equilibrium, leakage must equal injections. What are leakages? Any part of income that doesn't go directly to purchase goods produced domestically, saving and taxes, part of Y, but doesn't go directly to purchase goods produced domestically, equals injections. Injections, components of aggregate expenditure that goes directly to purchase goods produced domestically, which stimulate or encourage the economic activity in the country. So investment, purchases of business sector of machines and housing unit, and government spending to purchase goods and services produced domestically. Okay, so saving, we calculated 500, taxes from the quotient, investment from the quotient, government expenditure from the quotient, both sides should be equal. So here 700 equals 700. It's not necessary for saving to equal investment or for taxes to equal government spending. It's okay to have deficit or surplus in public budget, but it will be balanced by the relationship between saving and investment. Farhane.
E. A change in equilibrium level of aggregate output if government spending is increased by $100.
Okay, since here government spending changed by an amount. So to calculate delta Y, put the change in government spending and use government spending multiplier 1 divided by MPS. So here we put plus 100 because government spending is increased. What is marginal propensity to save? This is important. So how many times I explained how to derive, how to calculate marginal propensity to save. Go to the question and here dot 70 is marginal propensity to consume. The equivalency to 1 or 1 minus dot 7 equals dot 3 is the marginal propensity to save. So marginal propensity to save is dot 3. So use your calculator and find the result. So if the government spending increased by 100, aggregate output will increase by multiple than 100 by more than 300. So please in the exam write the formula.
عليكم دكتور.
عليكم السلام. الاسم الكريم
عبد العزيز زرعوني دكتور. دكتور انا زعلان جدا.
ليش عبد العزيز؟
دكتور والله يعني انا في الامتحان حط لي 61.50 دكتور.
ايوه
حرام انا حليت الامتحان زين دكتور.
اوكي. وهسه شو اللي تأمر فيه؟
دكتور يعني درجتي وايد ضئيله دكتور، جدا جدا
أيوة.
ضئيله. حليت الامتحان دكتور مع اني يعني.
عبد العزيز عزيزي احنا هسه بنص الكلاس جاي نشرح، يعني نوقف المحاضرة 40 طالب جاي.
انا اسف
40 طالب جاي.
بس يعني حازم خاطري دكتور يعني صراحة
يعني نوقف المحاضرة ونتناقش بدرجاتك عبد العزيز.
دكتور شيء ضايق يعني، بس يلا ما عليك. انا اسف اني اتكلم دكتور.
بارك الله فيك بارك الله فيك. اوكي.
براحتك.
So in the exam, write the formula, substitute the numbers, and last step write the result. Don't jump and only write the result. So to get A, I look at the presentation of your answer. You have to write a complete answer. It's not acceptable to write only the result, even the result is correct. So you have to write the formula, substitute the numbers, and last step, write the result. Okay. So Farhane?
F. A change in equilibrium level of aggregate output if net taxes are increased by $100.
Okay. So since taxes are changed, use tax multiplier. Tax multiplier 1 minus MPC divided by MPS. So here taxes are increased, so put a plus 100. If taxes are decreased, put here minus 100. Okay, what is marginal propensity to save? Is the parameter of consumption function dot 70. So from here, I got marginal propensity to consume dot 70. What is marginal propensity to save? Is 1 minus dot 7 equals dot 3. So use your calculator, we get minus something. So the increase in taxes has negative effect on equilibrium level of output, but a decrease in taxes has positive effect on equilibrium level of output. Why? Because our disposable income will be higher without taxes. We will spend more for consumption. Demand will increase. Business sector will react by increasing output. فرحانة
I have to read G.
Yes.
A change in equilibrium level of aggregate output if government spending is increased by $100 and net taxes are increased by $100 simultaneously.
Okay. So here we can use balance budget multiplier, which is equal to 1. Why? Because there is a change in government spending, a change in taxes in the same magnitude simultaneously. So the public budget will be in the same status. And this is the equation how to calculate delta Y equals delta G times 1. So here a change in government spending, or it is the same as a change in taxes, it is 100 times the balance budget multiplier 1. So it is equal 100. So in this case, aggregate output will increase by 100, by the same amount which increase government spending. Farhane.
H. A change in equilibrium level of aggregate output if government spending is increased by $100 and net taxes are decreased by $100 simultaneously.
Okay, so also we already explained such a question. So government spending increased by 100, taxes decreased by 100, so I write minus 100. Why I cannot use balance budget multiplier, which is equal 1? Because the change in government spending is not similar to change in taxes. Here increase and there is a decrease. So I cannot use balance budget multiplier. I have to calculate the effect of each one, G and T, separately and find the sum of them because they occur simultaneously. So here, so minus times minus will be positive. So the increase in government expenditure has positive effect on Y, and the decrease in taxes also have negative effect on Y. And the second question, I kept the second question for your review. I kept the second question for your review, for your practice.